what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Brothers in Tech is a weekly podcast focused on personal and home technology, helping provide you, our fellow brothers and sisters in tech, with some information, assistance, and recommendations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brothers in Tech here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. My name is Alan Jackson. I'm throwing you a curveball, Brian, by putting me on the right side of the screen. I think I'm normally on the other side.
Nope, that's okay. We talked about this last time, right? I can tell it's just you're bumping me up to first seat here, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I just wanted to kind of be fair and give everybody a chance to be in the first seat. And since there's only two of us, that means you have to have it occasionally. That is Brian Jackson, my brother. I'm Alan Jackson. We are Brothers in Tech. And we get together every week. And this is the only time my brother and I talk. So we pretty much talk technology. And we just figured we'd open the floodgates and let people in to join on our conversation. We talk home, family, and personal technology. Don't get into a lot of enterprise, big business tech. We're not doing any kind of tech forecasting here or future trend. We're looking at stuff that people are using right now or are available to us here in the very near future. And just trying to think of how to enrich our lives with technology and hopefully be a resource to other people who are looking to do the same thing within their family or personal home computing situation. So, Brian, with all that being said, how you doing? Are we good?
I'm good. That was a nice overview. That was probably one of your better ones. Yep. It's starting to flow, isn't it? It's
amazing
maybe 3 years.
When I actually put a good 5 minutes of prep time into this. It's amazing what I can actually pull off and actually have things rehearsed or ready to say. So, yeah.
The number of times you've actually done that has been so rare that it's hard to know.
No, I'm not arguing with you. I completely agree. It's the amount of prep work I put in is not where it should be, and probably shows some of the times, but it's okay. Today is different though. I am fully prepared.
Yeah, you are. It sounds like you are ready to roll. I'm very excited to take a back seat, even though I am in first chair. I would be very happy to take a back seat to you today and kind of hear what you have to say. I've got some random things to contribute, but today's your day, man. Today is your day to shine.
Well, we, when we get together, in the past for several years, we've been doing this show. We sometimes will hone in on one topic, and we like to talk about that one aspect of home or personal technology. But lately, and actually, I've gotten some feedback on this. It's been good. This idea of not feeling like we've got to stay on one topic the whole time, that we can do a little more of a hodgepodge of some different things. That way we kind of cover a lot of different bases, but we don't have to spend as much time on each individual one. So we're going to see how that works out today. Today we've got a few topics we're going to talk about. First up, we're going to talk about social media and kind of the state of social media, especially in regards to the recent changes at the Twitter organization. It's kind of caused a lot of people to start thinking about alternatives. What are some new social media alternatives that may be worth checking out? We're going to kind of talk about those a little bit. I've got some thoughts to share on the latest Mac operating system 13, which is Ventura. I've used it now for almost 2 weeks. Got a little bit of feedback, some impressions to give, and some thoughts and questions about it. And I'll also share a little update on, I know last time we talked about home NAS or network associated drive, network attached drive. Sorry. Mm-hmm. And I actually did have a couple questions from people in the wanting to know a little bit more about it. I think maybe I didn't go quite as deep into like what exactly it does differently than a regular just connected external drive. So mine is up in operation.
Set up now, yeah.
Yeah, last week when we talked, I didn't have it set up. So I'll give you a little more insight and can show you a couple things of how that works, how we're using that in our home setup. And then,
Perfect.
Then Brian, we're going to have a bits to share later as well, right?
Yep. We can. We'll see what the time is, right? One of the challenges here when we talking about multiple things. I mean, you and I talk. So
that's true.
Let's see.
I'm going to keep us on track.
Okay.
I'm going to keep us on track. I've got a timer going. I'm ready to see how we do time wise. We're gonna try and keep this going. Our bits is our brothers in tech suggestions. In case anybody was curious about the acronym, it's a great acronym that Brian came up with early on in our show. Brothers in Tech Suggestions are bits, and that's a recommendation Brian and I both give of either hardware, gadget, software, app, website, whatever it may be, technology-wise, that we want to recommend to other people. I am still on my old beat-up laptop because my new one is still being repaired, Brian. So if my video is a little tougher here, quality-wise or something, I apologize. I'm still waiting.
So if the audio stops, I have to decide whether that's an actual moment of silence for your computer or if your computer is just not keeping up.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Or I've just decided to bail on the show, and that seemed like the easiest way to do it. Anyway, just my apologies if my video is a little rougher. This laptop has been going through its paces this last couple of weeks while I've been working on getting my liquid damaged MacBook Pro replaced, basically. And still quite the ordeal there. I'm almost done with it, but I'm not going to get into that today. I've talked about it enough the last couple of weeks. So we want to talk social media.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know how jazzed I am about this topic, mainly because social media has gotten me a little annoyed and frustrated over the last, for a long time. But maybe that's exactly what we should be talking about. We should talk about what some possible alternatives are. So why don't we do? Let's do a quick little set the scene here, right? So Elon Musk has now purchased Twitter finally, right?
Yeah. Well, let's go back even. Let's go back even a little bit further on that. Okay. Social media wise, I mean, I know we talked about social media networks way early on in the show. What's amazing to me is that the ones we talked about that's kind of being the prominent ones at that time, and that was a good 2 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're still pretty much the ones that everybody uses. There hasn't really been anything new rolled out that's really caught fire, I don't think. No. TikTok is one that's, yes, it's out there. I mean, I know a lot of people use it. I'm talking about, when I think of social media, I'm really thinking more networks of, sharing both text and photos and videos and stories and so forth. It still seems like it's been Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn on the business side, and then I guess Instagram is kind of the one that skews more on the photo side. But that's still kind of your major ones on social media.
Wait, we're not gonna talk about Nextdoor. I mean, we're not gonna do a whole episode on that.
Never open Nextdoor. Here where I live, neighbors don't care about each other, so we don't do any kind of social networking with each other.
Well, we obviously don't care about each other either. We just like to rag on each other. And
is that what Nextdoor is? Well, seriously,
you might want to jump on sometime. It's someone brings something up and complains about the kids that have just run through their yard, and then everyone else does about 200 responses about how they're the most horrible people in the world, and then they argue. Yeah, so.
This is Nextdoor.
Nextdoor. Mm-hmm.
See, I love the drama side of it, so I may actually want to.
There's a lot of drama.
Just to sit by the on the sidelines and watch.
I mean, jump in on Nextdoor after something like Halloween and hear people talk about the nefarious things that went on the night before. Yeah, no, it might be your way to get drama into your life, Alan.
It's probably a good thing I didn't have that going, or at least maybe they are talking about me after Halloween, because I have the home theater screen right here, and it happens to be facing to where if I open my windows right here, it is a clear view of whatever I've got on that screen out to the street in front of us where all the trick-or-treaters were walking by. So I thought I'd be funny and clever and put up some, kooky skeletons, dancing on the screen. And it was like, all right, like it was, I tried to keep it pretty tame. It was pretty easy stuff on there, but it looked cool. Like if you walk by the house or walk on the sidewalk, you look in, it's like, there's big skeletons dancing in my den. It was pretty cool. But the thing is, I was doing it on YouTube, and YouTube, when you finish a video, it decides what video it wants to show next.
Oh, please tell me you had porn. Please tell me porn went on outside.
No, it was just terribly graphic, scary.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's what I'm saying is that if next door
So-
is going on around me, I'm sure people are riled up about the things that were being displayed out of
Oh.
my windows on Halloween night. So
Yeah. Forget worrying about, razor blades in your candy, right? Just don't go near that house. And
I mean, seriously, I walked outside just to kind of go check on one of the lights outside, and I looked in my own den. I'm like, oh my god, what what am I showing these people? So it was funny. All right,
Nice.
what were we talking about again? I'm sorry,
I
social
don't
media,
know.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, social media.
Mhm. Yep.
So the reason we decided to talk about social media is that, I mean, these four networks have been around for a good while, and they're still kind of mainstay. To me, this is the first time, Brian, I think we've really seen a true shakeup in one of them, to the point where there's
One of the
a
big boys.
threat of people ditching this network now. People have always complained about Facebook, but people
Yep.
generally aren't leaving Facebook in droves. But Twitter is actually with Elon Musk having recently bought it. There's been some concerns about the content that's on Twitter and how moderated or unmoderated it's now going to become. Questions about verification of people's identity. Just a lot of things to where I think enough people, it's the most I've seen people saying, I don't want to do this anymore and I'm going to leave.
Right. And
But I'll tell you,
right?
oh yeah, the cost of rolling
yeah,
out for it.
Rolling it out. Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I will say is that everybody I've seen that said they're going to leave Twitter, I haven't seen them actually leave yet. So I still think there's a little bit of that. But it is causing some people to talk about what are some alternatives. Are there some new alternatives? If everybody wanted to leave Twitter en masse and get out of there, is there somewhere to go? Because look, you like it or not, Twitter does serve a purpose. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of communities and groups of people that I see and I'm a part of online that they actually get benefit from a network like Twitter. It's just now the concerns are how Twitter's being managed and how it's being led more than anything. People aren't really upset about the functionality of Twitter. It's the decisions on the people who are now guiding it. So that has opened up a good question mark of, are there other platforms and networks available to go to? And I'm here to tell you, Brian, I know you haven't really messed around with any of these. I did. I went ahead and got on all three of these other ones I'm going to talk about, just because I want to kind of get familiar with them, see if they were going to be any kind of alternative, and also to go ahead and try to lay claim to my name on them, which I think is important. You have to go ahead and get a good handle so you're not left with AK Jackson 61250, or something. Unfortunately, Alan Jackson was already taken on all three of them.
Surprise.
So somebody with the country music singer, his social media team, jumped on those pretty quick, I'm imagining. Yeah. But there are three. I'm going to pull up a little bit of information about them just to talk about these three alternatives. So if you're somebody who says, all right, look, I like what Twitter does, I just don't want to be a part of it anymore, or I'm thinking that people are going to be leaving and I want to go ahead and jump on whatever may be the next big thing. Here are three that are getting some attention, although I'm just going to go ahead and say I don't think any of them are quite ready for prime time yet.
Right.
If you jump into any of these three other networks, I really think you're kind of being a beta tester. You're kind of getting in while things are kind of low key and still a lot of bugs to work out. So just know that going in. And also you don't have the volume of people like you do on Twitter. So the whole point of a social network is to have others to interact with. And if you don't have a lot of people to interact with, it's kind of makes it a little challenging. So,
well, and that's why I'm pretty sure we're not seeing the mass exodus of Twitter. I think everybody. I don't think it's necessarily that everybody is not still that there's not still an interest in leaving. I just think that they are waiting until something is, an effective substitution. So, yeah.
Well, I agree. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think just waiting to see which ones are going to kind of rise up out of the ashes of this whole deal, if any of them do. I mean, we may still be talking about Twitter this time next year, and nothing's really changed. The one I want to talk about first is probably the one that's considered right now to be, quote, the most popular Twitter alternative.
Yeah.
Last I heard, it was close to 6 million accounts on Mastodon. So Mastodon is an app. Mastodon's been around for a while. These are not new apps. It's just everybody kind of looked around and said, is there an app or service that can work like Twitter that if we all move to, could we use? And Mastodon was one that a lot of people started gravitating to. Again, 6 million accounts, nowhere near Twitter numbers, but that is a big growth in just the last several weeks. Here's the interesting thing about Mastodon, and I'm actually going to pull it up on my phone because I want to show everybody what we're talking about here. Mastodon is kind of interesting in that it is a decentralized social network. And what we mean by that is it is not one that one centralized company manages and has all so imagine like Twitter. Twitter is a company. Twitter has a giant server farm. Everything that you do on Twitter is sitting on Twitter's servers and their property. Mastodon is different. It's decentralized, meaning there is no headquarters. There is no company that owns the whole thing. It is a social network. When you hop in it, it actually looks very similar to Twitter. Functionality is very similar to Twitter, but it's not owned by a company. It's not owned by any one company. It allows its communities to what they say, quote, be truly user-led. And we'll see how that turns out in the long run if you get a lot of people there. The thing that's been tripping people up with Mastodon, if you go online, there's a lot of memes and people joking about this, is how difficult it is, like for the end user to get started. The reason is when you go into Mastodon, and I'm going to see if I can do this here. Let me see if I can pull this up. It may take me just a second. I didn't have my phone set up. I realized Mastodon is only
it's only mobile, right?
It's only a mobile. I was hoping to show it on the desktop, but I forgot it's not. So let me just bring this up. And I'll share this. Okay.
By the way, while we're doing that, did you want to go ahead and share the username you were able to get? Is that Fluffy Bunny 23, or did you go with like Sexy Boy 85? I can't remember.
I honestly don't remember what I got. Let me find out. No, mine is. Oh, I did get Alan Jackson. I got Alan Jackson. Okay, yeah, this is where it gets confusing. All right.
Yes, this is the part we got to talk about.
Yeah. So Mastodon is the way it works is when you sign up on Mastodon with a new account, it kind of throws you a question that a lot of people are tripping up over. It asks you to choose a server that you want to have your account located on. Now, if you're a typical Facebook, Twitter user, that means nothing to you. That's foreign concept. But what the idea is that because this is a decentralized social network, there are servers set up at different places around the world that are part of this Mastodon network. You have to choose one of those servers to have your account on. You can choose any of them. And in theory, they all work basically the same. And you're still able to follow people from other servers or see posts from other servers. But each server community has its own guidelines and rules, so they can kind of self-moderate themselves in case there's any users that they feel like are putting out inappropriate content or anything else. It's very confusing, and that's what people are tripping up at. And this is why it has not, I don't think, exploded. Because if it wasn't for that whole setup process and choosing this whole server thing, I actually think functionality-wise and the way it looks and operates, it's almost identical to Twitter, and it seems to work okay. So here I am looking. The New York Times appears to be the only thing I'm following that actually put anything up here. So right now my feed is just New York Times post. But as you can see, the posts all look very much like Twitter. It's you got your headlines, you got your links, and you got people who reply to it and make comments about it. You can reply, you can retweet it, you can not retweet, whatever they call it. Oh, they call it toots. No, seriously. This is the other reason why I'm afraid Mastodon may not be the ultimate
prime time here. Yeah.
Prime time choice for us, because they call them toots.
Tweets and toots.
When you post up something, it's a toot. And when you're resharing something, I don't know if it's retooting or just tooting in general.
Tooting again. Yeah.
Anyway, that I'm not crazy about. But it works very much the same way. You follow people that you want to follow. I've got 4 people I'm following right now. Actually, there's more of them. It says 6. I don't know why it only shows 4. Supposedly, you make your posts and people can like them and share them and follow them just like Twitter. The whole key, again, is just going to be, are there people here that you're interested in following and sharing things with?
Right.
And then can you get past that technical hurdle of the whole choosing a server? Honestly, I saw that question. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here.
Nope.
And I read through the servers and none of them sounded like ones that are really like ideal for me. I'm like, I don't know where everybody's going to be. I don't know which one I should be on. So that whole setup process was very troubling. And it's actually kind of funny. There's been I just want to share this really quick because I think it's funny. There was a couple memes that are coming out about this whole setup process on Mastodon. And yeah, here it is. This is a photograph of what it looks like logging onto Mastodon. It's just this giant mass of computers and wires. Which I think it's kind of funny. That's the way it feels.
Like. Yeah,
it did. Exactly. Yep. So that is Mastodon.
Yeah, Alan, real quick. So let's just make sure we clarify. Just so people know, no matter which one of those servers you sign up on, you can still follow people on the other servers.
So that's where I'll admit it's a little hazy. Okay. Yeah. Everything I'm reading. Okay. You can. Here's the question. Isn't there's some trick or thing you're supposed to be able to do if you put up a post and you want your post to be seen by anybody on any of the servers?
I don't know.
Somewhere I've read that it's not as simple as just you click make a post and you post and everybody on the entire Mastodon network sees it. You have to do something in order for other server communities to also see your post.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to jump in. The other issue is search does not work that effectively across those, from what I understand. Like you can't, on Twitter, you can go in and say, oh, you know what? Let me look up NBC, and NBC.com, right? A lot of those things aren't coming through because one, there's not as many people on it yet. So finding them out, and I don't think the search feature is ready for prime time either. I don't know if it goes across those individual servers. I don't think it does. But I think the key is if you start knowing people to follow on other servers, I think you can do that. You can get to those. But you're right. There's some element there that you just got to keep in mind that it would be good for people to be aware that if they could get past that initial piece, get themselves a username. I think that's one of the really nice parts is that because your username is going to be whatever you get at that thing, or it's got the server as a part of it. So technically there's more of those people, right, that actually can have the main name because they're all on different servers. So I don't know.
There's like, for example, mine here is at Alan Jackson, and then it has at c.im. That is the server I chose to be on.
So that means it probably could be an Alan.Jackson at the other server.
Yep.
Right. Or other servers. Yep.
And when they show you the list of servers, I mean, it's the kind of cryptic details of each one. Like one says, okay, here's one in Hungary that's kind of talking a lot more about technology. And here's another one in another country that deals with this. There's not like a server that just says, hey, this is for English-speaking people that want to communicate. I mean, there's just not one that broad and simple. So I kind of had to guess at one and say, well, here's one that says United States in it. And it seems to be a little more general in its description. I guess I'll choose that one. I don't know. I kind of wonder, like, did I make the right choice? I don't know if there's a penalty to like having chosen one that's not the best fit. Again, I understand why they're doing this whole multiple servers thing, because again, no one company is owning all this. And now you're disseminating all of this network across multiple servers. I just think if they're really wanting to open this up to a lot of end users, they're going to have to come up with a simpler onboarding process for people. That's not going to trip them up, because I guarantee a lot of people will read that first setup question, and be like, "Oh, I'm out. This is not where I want to be." So
And Alan, to read me really quickly your username again. So it's Alan Jackson, all one word?
It is Alan Jackson, all one word.
Okay.
Yeah. Alan Jackson at c.im.
Okay. So I I am on as well.
Okay.
Okay. So just so you know, I went to a search. I typed in Alan Jackson, all one word. Nothing shows up. I did the @c.im, then you show up. So you actually have to know someone's entire bit, right? Which is a problem.
That starts to get very problematic, I think.
Yep. So I just followed, and you can see if that shows up and how well that system works. Can you see who's
you just followed
you?
me?
Yeah. Can you see who's following you now?
I can. Yep. I see you're on there.
Okay.
So you're on the Linux pizza server? Is that where you are?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it says.
I didn't know. Yeah, couldn't remember which one.
Again, I don't know. I mean,
there's a problem. Yeah, there's some major problems here to kind of get past, right? But here's the thing: if you had a network of people that wanted a place for them to share their ideas, not to become bombarded by ads and things like that, and you all jumped on and you all kind of started a network where one person followed another person who followed another person, and then all of a sudden you could see then how to connect, which is of course the way initially Twitter was. How do I know how to follow? Well, I could see who someone else is following, and it became kind of this growing thing. But I think the names are what really is a problem. Like I should be able to type in Alan Jackson, and it should be able to see it if you're on there. But
see, here's my belief on this. I think that Mastodon has been around for a few years, my understanding. I think it's probably worked fine for the smaller network of people that they've kind of built this for. Now that they're trying to pitch this, or people are pitching it as a Twitter alternative, these are where some of these barriers have to be resolved before anything can happen with that. Yeah. I mean, once I'm in it, granted, I'm only following 4 or 5 people.
Right.
It works fine. I mean, I like it. And I do like the idea that it's not owned by a company. So I don't have to worry about a lot of corporate interest trying to push things on me or other people kind of taking control of moderation around me. So I do like that. So I'm cheering for it. It's really got to work on its onboarding experience for new users. Otherwise, it's just not going to get people on board. So, all right. So that's Mastodon. That is one that's probably gotten the most attention right now as an alternative. There are 2 others. Not going to spend as much time on these, but just to make you guys aware that they are out there. One of them is called Counter Social. And I'll go ahead and show you. I tried to pull up Counter Social right before the show began, and this is what I get. We're sorry, but something went wrong on our end. So I don't know if me teasing that I was going to talk about this caused so many people to flood
mass panic across the country.
Network. And maybe that's what it is. But let me see if I can restart it and see if it works now. Nope, still not working. So Counter Social is another one. I'll just say that Counter Social, the reason for it to exist is it kind of is positioning itself as what it calls as a next generation social network. Its quotes are, it says, there's no trolls, no abuse, no ads, no fake news, and no foreign influence operations. And it promises not to mine or sell any user data. Otherwise, it looks and acts like Twitter when it's working and doesn't have this little gorilla.
I was going to say, it also looks like it has no content. So maybe that's
right. There's that
to make that happen.
There is a web version of Counter Social where there is not one for Mastodon. Mastodon is mobile only. Counter Social you can view on the web just like you can Twitter. So that is one. Let me put that up there so people at least have the name. Let me put that up there. Hold on. That is counter.social. All right. So that is the one with the dead gorilla you're seeing on the screen right now is counter.social. But again, there is a web client for it. Let me bring that up.
Like a desktop?
Yeah.
Desktop client? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you can do a desktop.
Let's see. I'll stop sharing that and I'll share the window here. Yeah, so here's the desktop version for Counter Social. And you can see it's I don't really know what it's talking about, honestly. There's a lot. It's got a lot going on right here. So
we'll slide back up and let's at least look at the little screenshot of what it looks like. Okay. So
well, this is the desktop version where you can have multiple streams up at one time, which is very crazy looking. If you want to look at the mobile version, that appears to be here.
Yep. Yeah. So you're going to see probably similar interface, right? Everything's kind of listed out in list mode, and probably have the way to respond to them and, connect. So it's going to be
But the fact that it's been down for the last couple of us, and I don't hear anybody really using it yet, but I do know it's kind of batted around as another option. Counter.social on the web is where you can find this, and a link to the mobile app. So let me show the last one, and this is one I have tried and played around with a little bit. It's called Tribal. And let me bring that one up. All right, Tribal. So Tribal, yes, it is Twitter alternative, although it reminds me a little bit more of Facebook, just from the way it looks and feels. I feel it's a little more Facebooky than it is Twitter, but again, it's an alternative of social media network. And let me bring up the graphic on that. I should have had these done in advance. I'm sorry. I bragged about how I was so prepared for this episode, but yet I'm
maybe next time 6
falling
minutes of
down
prep
now.
instead of 5. What do you think?
I probably need 7 now.
Okay.
This is Tribal. Tribal, the way they pitch this network is it's all about customizing your news feed. You have complete control over what you're able to see content-wise. They want to make sure that you're able to control the type of content you're seeing, and you don't see any content you don't want to see. But they also say that when you create content on Tribal, you can really select a target audience that you want to try to grow engagement with your post. So in other words, if you make a post about a topic, you have some control over kind of choosing a target audience to make sure it gets pushed to, instead of it just being a free for all. You put up a post and anybody in the world sees it with equal amount. It lets you find topic experts quickly, gets an opportunity. You have an opportunity to become a quote star contributor based on the quality of post and numbers of likes that you get. And again, just like Counter Social tries to say, they are quote bigotry free. Again, I think it's just very hard to say that that is the case when you probably don't have but a couple million people tops on here, if even that. You get to the point where it's double digit millions, then start talking and see if we can still keep it under control.
Right.
But this is Tribal. Again, works very much the same way. The reason I say it's a little more like Facebook is that you have your messages down here along the bottom. You've got your profile to set up. You have your notifications. You got more menu options. You can go up and see what your friends are saying, which I have no friends at the moment. You can go and see the people you're following, which there's no post on anybody I'm following at the moment. Anything that's breaking news, kind of like what's newsworthy stuff. So, of course, right now it's a lot of election stuff going up there and some sports. And then you got a trending tab, just like Twitter does, about kind of what's trending at the moment. So, I mean, sure. I think, I can't speak for Counter Social because that's not working right now. But of the other two, Tribal and Mastodon, I mean, I think there's something there. I think they could work great. It's just going to depend on where do they get the numbers? Do they get the number of people where you can build a social network that's meaningful for you?
Right.
I'll say with Twitter, Brian, I'm pretty pleased with the way I use Twitter, and I don't quite get the negativity that a lot of people seem to get from Twitter because my feed is pretty well curated. I mean, I follow a lot of news sources. I follow a lot of journalists I trust. I follow a lot of authors and writers I trust. And, granted, yes, some stuff gets shared and reshared that I don't agree with or like or want to see. But for the most part, the stuff I see on Twitter is pretty good. But the only reason it works for me is because it's got the numbers and I'll be able to spend time curating it. Until any one of these networks get to that kind of level of user engagement, it's going to be really tough to say if any of these are truly a good alternative for Twitter.
Yeah, and especially most of these are, the big tagline is going to be, this is a place where we don't censor you, or this is a place where, this one here, you can decide what you see. And there's a very big discussion that we can have, we won't have here, but about is that really the best way that social media should be, presented, right? Do we want echo chambers where you're just deciding to hear from people that are like you? Or
True.
do you want places where the real information or the information is given to you in maybe an unfiltered way? But yet when we do that, we get very frustrated because we see people that we don't want to hear from. So there's a real issue, I think, with social media still that is a problem that has to be figured out as to, here I'm getting on this particular thing for this particular reason. And, if this is where I want to get my news and I want to use it as news and use it as kind of people talking about the things I care about, there should almost be a limit as to what we can control there. But I think you're right. All of these are going to say great things, and it's very easy to control when you have very few users. When you get a lot of users and you get people using it for the wrong reason. So, I make the kind of draw the connection back to when we talked about selling online. Mm-hmm. And we said, hey, listen, Craigslist was great until the scammers got involved and realized that everybody was there. Right? Facebook Marketplace was great until the scammers started to realize that's where everybody is and I could use it for a different reason. Twitter is great until people realize that's the way they can shove things down your face and, potentially, spread things that aren't true and start to take advantage of that. So that's the problem with social elements like this is that, they're great until there's nefarious actions with them. Right. So.
And unfortunately, you don't always know if that's going to be the case until you've gotten kind of deep into it and been using it for a while. So, well, those are alternatives out there. I guarantee you with everything Twitter's going through drama-wise, there'll probably be another one or two that try to pop up in short term as well that are just going to try to mimic what Twitter's doing, but to cater to those people who don't want to deal with Twitter anymore as a business or as a company. I'm still watching. I'm happy I went ahead and grabbed my space in all three of these just to say I'm there. I'm just going to kind of listen to the tea leaves and see. The big thing's going to be for me when I hear that a lot of people I follow on Twitter start saying I'm moving over to this, or I'm going to start putting a lot of my content on here. That's going to start to be my key of saying, okay, that's maybe when I start to tiptoe over there. And so far that hasn't happened yet. So, All right. Well, that is some alternatives on social media. So people who are a little wary on Twitter, love the idea of Twitter, love the functionality, but just not happy with where the company may be going or what they think the future of Twitter is. You have some options to look at. Again, just don't expect a lot out of them yet. This is slow going. Twitter was slow going when it first started up. I remember the early days of Twitter. It was pretty much all tech journalists. So that was pretty much all I ever saw when I signed up for Twitter. Is tech journalists, people talking about technology. That's the only people I saw. That's the only people I followed. And it just took some time before, you get such high percentage of the population on there. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's social media stuff.
Okay.
What are we going to talk about next? We want to talk about Mac OS 13.
Yeah. You're going to have to, You're gonna have to run this one too. I do not have this on my computer. My university has not released that as a safe thing to download and use yet. They're still testing it, but you're welcome to jump into that.
I am not restrained by the man. I am able to go and do my own thing here on my computer. My very old
very old
laptop computer.
I did do anything that your laptop will allow you to do, Alan.
I was afraid that it might not allow me to even upgrade because it's just, even today it bogged down to a crawl and just shut itself off right in the middle of me working on stuff. It's like, I'm done.
Nope, I'm taking time off.
I'm done taking a break. So I did upgrade to OS 13 Ventura, the latest Mac operating system. As we've talked about, Brian, as much as we use our iPhones and we like the iOS updates, the Mac updates are always the ones that get me a little more excited because
I'm with you. Yep.
I still spend 75% of my computing life is still on a computer, I feel like. So I really want that to always be the best experience I can get. So the latest Mac operating system, I'm going to bring up just Apple's little splash page about some of the features. And I've got a quick hit list of just some notes on these features that they really tout with this. the first thing I'll just go and ask, people ask me all the time, should I upgrade? If my Mac is capable of running macOS 13 Ventura, should I upgrade? So far, my answer has been no. I do not think there's a critical need to upgrade if you unless there is a one particular feature that I'm about to read that is really important to you.
Okay.
Otherwise,
so you're saying no because of lack of reason, not necessarily no because it will hurt your machine.
Oh, no. Very good
Okay.
point. No, I'm not saying no, don't do it because it's going to crash your machine or anything.
Okay.
It's fine. It's stable. I have not had
Yep.
any issues with it and using it. And I don't think I've heard there has been a bug with I think a Wi-Fi bug that's been floating around that some people are affected by. Apple put out a patch today, actually, that's supposed to fix that. It's like 16.1.1. It came out today. But other than that, I haven't heard of any showstopper bugs or issues. Now, my reason for saying I don't think there's a need to upgrade is I just don't think most users will even notice anything different. The interface is unchanged, looks identical to how it did before. There's no real cosmetic changes. Nothing changes dramatically the way you would use your Mac at all. I mean, actually barely at all. There are a list of certain core features, though, that they really tout in this update. If any of these features are really important to you and something that you would use and need for your own productive life, then yes, that's probably a reason enough to go ahead and upgrade. But unless if none of these features are ones you say, I don't need any of those, I don't really see myself using them, there's no rush to go out and upgrade. There's no real hard need to do it. That's my take on it. So, for example, some of the features we've got, I'll go ahead and say this one right off the bat. Mail, I have not worked with Mail on Ventura. Brian, I made the switch back once again to Spark about a month ago.
Do tell. Okay.
Because Spark released a brand new desktop and mobile version. I think Spark 3.
Okay.
Which on mobile I really like. On desktop, it's got some bugs, but I'm still using it. I've actually got both Spark 2 and Spark 3 loaded and running on my desktop because
just in case.
I like Spark 3, the newest version of Spark, so much, but it crashes all the time. And people are complaining about it online. So I know it's not just me. Spark 2 will not crash. So if I'm writing a long email to somebody, I'll open it in Spark 2 to make sure I can finish it, instead of opening it in Spark 3 and it crashing on me in the middle.
That's commitment. So, that is commitment. That's a brothers in tech commitment right there. Very nice.
That is a productivity tip for you. If you are concerned about any bugs, just have multiple versions of the same application open on your computer. Yeah.
Just in case. Yeah.
So Mail, I cannot speak to, but I will say that the one thing I know we learned about Mail that I was a little disappointed by is it does have the undo send where you can say, I want to undo it. I want to pull that back within the first minute or two after you send it. And you can schedule when things are sent, which is a pretty typical feature for a lot of mail clients. So it's just now coming to Mac Mail. You can tag something as follow-up, meaning, hey, remind me about this, or I want to see if they followed up on this within a week. And it will notify you, hey, this email has not been responded to, and you asked me to follow up on it. So it lets you know about those. But as you notice, one thing they don't play up is that whole idea of remind me later,
right?
Which is basically like snooze. I want to snooze an email. Well, it doesn't really work the same way that we all wanted it to work, or at least I wanted it to work. So once I found that out, I kind of lost interest in using the new Mac Mail. So I can't speak to the Mac Mail yet.
Okay.
That's the one feature I haven't played with yet. Here's the thing that I did not realize was going to be so important or nice in Ventura that I really love. We talked about Spotlight, or at least I did from a productivity standpoint a few weeks ago, how much I use Spotlight to find things on my computer, to open up applications or anything else. Well, now in Ventura, it does have an image search built into Spotlight. So if I wanted to search for images anywhere on my computer, just like you could on Google, where you could do a Google search based on text. If I type in dog, I want to look for a picture, it'll bring up photos of dogs that are on my computer, either in my iPhoto library or any web images I've downloaded or web pages I've got bookmarked. It'll find images on those. That's really nice. I've already used that several times just in the last week. Also in Spotlight, there can be some quick actions. So, for example, gives an example. You could type into Spotlight your search bar and say clock, and it can automatically open up your clock. But you could say start timer, and it will automatically trigger kind of the clock to open and
nice.
be ready to go on the start timer button. So just some little shortcut, little quick actions you can do from that same Spotlight. This is all making it so much more important for me to keep using Spotlight as my way of opening and finding things all throughout my computer. I tell you, Spotlight's open probably a dozen times a day for me, at least, if not more than that. So,
well, it's now open about one time a day for me. You've gotten me to at least move to trying it, and you're exactly right. I just have to train myself to open it, to use that method, because it is really slick. Yep.
Yeah. Good. Messages, I have played with a little bit. Message upgrades on Ventura. This is where you can choose to edit a message after you've sent it. You can unsend one that you didn't mean to send. And like you talked about under productivity, we can now mark something as
so nice.
Unread to remind us. Just like we could on iOS 16 that we talked about in your productivity tip, we can now do on the Mac version as well. There's a couple other things with that. All right, the iCloud shared photo library. Let me mention this just for a minute, because I do think this is kind of important, Brian. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my phone to kind of show this, because even though I know it's on the Mac Ventura functionality, I can show you on the phone a little bit easier. So the iCloud shared photo library, you can always have shared libraries on your Photos app and on the Mac or on iOS. You get a library and you say, I want to share this with these people. The difference with this is that if you create an iCloud shared photo library, you're creating an online photo library that you're able to invite others to be a part of, like your family members or close friends. And then everybody that's a part of it, when you are creating new photos, like for example, in your camera app, you can actually say in your camera app, do I want automatically any photos I take right now to automatically go and be put in that shared family library?
That's nice.
Or I don't want them to be staying in my own personal library. And so then when you're on your Mac, let me see if I can show this. Oh yeah. That's weird. Okay. Well, maybe that's not working the way I think. Oh yeah, no, here it is. Great. All right, let me share this instead. So when you do your iCloud iCloud shared library, that's what I need to say, on your Mac. So this is my library, but if you notice now, I've got a tab up here at the top, and I can choose, and granted, you don't see the pop-up on the sharing screen, but when I click it, it gives me a pop-up that says, do I want to look at photos from my shared library, my personal library, or both libraries? Okay. So right now I'm looking at just my shared library. These are photos I put into my iCloud shared library that my other family members now have access to. On my phone, if I'm taking photos on my camera, I can say, you know what? By default, go ahead and send everything I'm taking right now to the shared library. And then when I'm in my Mac, I can be choosing to see my entire personal library, which is all of my photos, or I can see just my shared library. And it's easy for me to go in and say on my personal library, I want to take a photo and I want to add it to the shared library. I've got a pop-up menu that just popped up on one of my photos, and one of the options is move one photo to your shared library. So I can do that. It doesn't, it's still whoever starts the iCloud shared library is kind of where all the storage is sitting with. So my iCloud account is what's storing that shared library. So I'm responsible for that. But the good news is that everybody I've shared it with, they don't have to even be on my same iCloud family account. They can be anybody, but I'm responsible for the storage of those photos on my own space, on my own iCloud space. So
if I added something to a group that you had created for you and I, then it starts to store it on your iCloud.
If you put it just on the shared library, yes, it
Yeah.
would put it on my iCloud account. Now, if you put it on your personal library and then said, okay, go ahead and add this to the shared one, you can be in both places if you choose to.
Okay,
But-
so let me play with that for just a second. So, so if you, Alan, had a huge iCloud storage account, I did not. You shared it with me and said, "Let's use this together." I changed my camera to always store to that shared library. It means I can maximize your storage and not have to have it.
That's my understanding. Yeah. And it says that whoever set up the shared library is kind of where any storage requirements and storage usage stay with.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there could be some family members or friends who don't even have their own personal library. They just put everything on a shared library. Like right now, if my family, we go on a trip, I tell everybody, hey, look, as we're taking photos, just go ahead and have them go right to the shared family library.
Right.
So we all get them. We don't have to worry about uploading them later and all that. So then we have a dynamically growing photo library between the four of us that is sitting in the shared library that I can so easily toggle between, which is what I like within the Photos app now, going between my personal, which has 41,000 photos, or my new shared library where I just have the 17 photos I've added earlier today. So
Alan, just walk me through again, because if I'm taking a picture on my phone now with the new software, and I can toggle where I want it to go, if I just pull my camera out and take a picture, is it automatically going to a default place, or is it going to ask me every time, hey, where do you want to put this?
I'll tell you what, I'll show you.
Please do. Yeah. Because this I would say can be dangerous if it doesn't act the way I'm hoping it's going to act.
All right. So if I go to my camera app, right?
Yep.
Okay. You see up in the top, there's now a new little icon. It's next to the flash. It's got two people in it, and it's got a line through it. Okay. That is saying right now that if I take a photo, it's going into my personal library only.
So it says not going to the
group. If I click it,
okay.
Now it says I'm going into shared library. Okay. So now any photo I take with that little icon lit up is going into the shared library automatically. Now, if I leave it there and turn off my phone or my camera and go back, it's kept that same setting. So unless you go and physically tell it to stop and to go back to your personal library.
And that's not a setting. I can't go in and say, always default to my personal and only if I set it up the other way. Can you do that?
Well, when in doubt, Brian,
Let's
look it up.
Let's look.
See, here's where I set up the shared library in my preferences, my settings, shared library, and I chose the people to add to it. And I say, do I want to have shared library suggestions? Yes, I turn that on. Do I want to have sharing from my camera? Yes, I do. But there does not appear to be, okay, and there's a shared automatically or share manually setting. So if I say share automatically, then every time I take a photo, it's going to go to my shared library no matter what.
Yeah.
If I say share manually, that's when I have to toggle that little switch at the top.
But
now, I also have an option to say share when I'm at home.
Remembering. But it also says
there's
the problem.
There is one option that says when you're at home, if I want to make sure I'm sharing photos anytime I'm at home. So in other words, if I take a photo and I'm at my home, it's automatically going to add it to shared library if I toggle that last switch on. So it's not granular. There's not a lot of flexibility on it. You do have to be aware of it. But yes, it's very possible you could be taking photos and not realize that you're sending it to a shared library available to all your family and friends.
So that is a problem, right? That is a problem. And I'm thinking, if you're someone, say you're a younger person that, your mom and dad wants to have a family, album, you take one for the family album and then you don't think about it. And then you pull it out to take something stupid. It's automatically going there, right? It sounds like it's remembering, I guess. It's kind of like a printer option. It's your last used printer setting, right? It's going to stay there. So I do wish there was a way that you could go and say like safety mode, which is every time I click a picture, I want it to come up and quickly say, do you want this to go anywhere else other than this? Like I want that. That's the way I like to take pictures. Like I would like to click it and then it tell me, where do you want to share it? Oh, cool. This. Just like screenshots are, right? Screenshots now are like you take a screenshot and it says, hey, how do you want to use this? Or do you want to delete it now? Great.
Yeah.
I want that kind of.
Or even if it's just a default setting, say always by default, when I open up my camera, set it to this.
Yeah.
And then I have to manually go and change it.
Yes.
If I want to.
Yeah. It's like always be safe. Always be safe.
I don't ever take anything that I'm embarrassed by. So I don't really care.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm a good boy. I don't take anything that I'm embarrassed by. So that's the iCloud shared library. I do like it. I think it is early. It's a 1.0 version of this. There's probably some more functions and options that need to roll out for addressing those needs, but I love it because right away, the idea of having to share photos from my library with my family was always kind of a challenge to do. And I felt like we got multiple copies of the same photos between all of us around. This is the way to really consolidate it a lot more, make it simpler. So, okay, last
suggestions piece, real quick. What does the suggestion mean? What did that mean of like suggested albums when you were showing that? That just means
suggested
close
photos.
to someone. Oh, so
I think it looks at photos and it tries to give you suggestions and say, hey, did you want to put these on the shared family library or photo library or not?
Because I knew there was there was supposed to be a feature that was if you and I were friends, we happened to be at the same party together, and that it would be able to say, hey, do you guys want to all create it'll automatically say, by the way, people are taking pictures of the same party. Do you want to share since they're buddies of yours?
I don't know if it does that automatically or not, but now you can say, look, I want to share some photos from these moments together.
Okay.
And you choose other people to do it with. And then all of you can kind of take photos at the same event and they all kind of funnel into a shared pot of photos you can all look at. So,
Got it.
A lot more sharing functionality has rolled into the macOS photos on this version. So now, I know we're already running long, but
surprise.
Yeah, really. Stage Manager. I do want to mention this just for a second. So Stage Manager, as we talked about weeks ago or months ago when the OS was announced, this is meant to be a new way of interacting with your Mac computer. Now, they've downplayed this a lot. They delayed it, and they don't make it as easy to turn on, I think because they got a lot of bad user feedback from people that just didn't really enjoy using it, didn't find it to be very helpful. But I did try it, Brian, and I did turn it on and play with it for a little while. In me bringing it up, I'm going to be showing you one thing that is still my big negative on Ventura, which is the system settings. I am still struggling with this. I'm not having a good time with these, the way they've laid out system settings now. But to get to Stage Manager, I had to do a search for it to even find out where you turn it on. And it's in the desktop and dock setting. And there is a Stage Manager option to turn on. And when you do this, and I'll show you what my screen looks like here. It does change your entire desktop layout. Let me see if I can show you screen 2. Okay. So now this is what my desktop looks like now. Okay. You will notice over on the left-hand side, it has got different windows. Those little icon windows represent different apps in groups of windows belonging to that application. So if I were to go and click on my Chrome tab, now I'm in Chrome, but everything else is now moved over to the left. So I don't have any overlapping applications up at the same time. I've just got Chrome here, and I can work in Chrome and do whatever I want to do. And then if I need to go back over to my settings, I'll go back over here and click on settings. And now my settings windows come up. And if I need to go to photos, I go to photos. So the idea is supposed to be that it's managing your focus and your attention kind of on the one primary app you're working on, but you always have these other ones off to the side that you can easily kind of go between and work with. Now, this is a dual monitor setup, so it's got the same interface on my other desktop right now that I can work with too. So it's got these little trays on the side of both of my screens.
Exact same trays are on both screens.
No, the ones,
No, they're
any
different.
trays for apps that are open in the other screen
Okay.
over there.
Yep.
So look, I can look at this and see that from a trying to keep you focused and not having all your windows open and everything else, I can see how this might work okay. I personally don't like the fact that it just takes up so much space over here on the side for those little tabs. And one problem I've noticed is that if your window is really big, well, it's not doing it here. Yeah, it kind of, if my window is like over to the side, it actually pushes them off. So I don't even know they're there until I move back over.
And you can't have them float above, or I guess you wouldn't want to, right? Because you would lose.
No, I don't think that's kind of the point. So, look, if somebody if somebody really needs that focus to say, I want to have one type of application up at a time. I just want to focus on what I'm working on, but I want to quickly be able to toggle between the others. And then, yes, this is something you could play with. But I tried using it for a while just to use it during the day, just to see if it made any impact on how I worked. And it's not for me, but it could be for some other people. I think the fact that Apple hid this setting so deep into their system settings that you had to turn on with one little toggle button. It's definitely not on by default. So don't worry if you upgrade to Ventura, it's not like it's going to change to the Stage Manager view. You have to go very intentionally and choose this to do. And for the customization, there's not a lot there. So
is it really the biggest difference between it and the dock, for example, is that you can actually have groups of apps over there together as opposed to
it groups everything together.
Forward. Yeah,
you kind of see it like in a pile, almost like this is everything with Chrome. This is everything with Microsoft Word. It's kind of all in one group. And then when you click on it, it just kind of swings it back out into the window placement you had it in before. As opposed to the dock, where the dock is good for minimizing things, but you still got to go and manually bring up each individual icon or each individual file you're working on. Yeah, it's another one. I mean, Mac has rolled out probably 4 or 5 of these interface ideas that just have never caught on for me. I know some people live and die by them, but I just can't. Spaces, what Launchpad, a couple others, and now we got Stage Manager. So, not quite working for me, but it is there. That was something that was touted as kind of a big feature when they were really promoting Ventura initially, but they've really downplayed it since then, I think, because of that. All right, Brian, let me wrap this up. I know we're going on here. Last thing I'll mention, I don't need to talk about FaceTime. The continuity camera. This is something I talked about. It's probably the feature I was most looking forward to. The idea of taking your phone and letting it act as a webcam, a much better webcam than what your built-in laptop webcam, or if you're on a Mac that does like a Mac Mini or Mac Studio and you don't have a webcam, this will act as your webcam for you. It's great when it works. I have had a hard time getting it to work. The idea is supposed to be that you just take your phone, and as long as you have it near your Mac and your Mac is running Ventura and your phone is running the latest iOS version, and you turn your phone to the landscape mode, when you've got an app open that uses webcams, it's supposed to automatically turn into a webcam for your camera. Again, I've tried this. Like right now I'm in QuickTime Player and I'm doing a new movie recording. So I've got the camera pulling up. Okay. And now it's letting me see my phone camera as a camera, which is good. Okay. So now let's see if I can do this here on Chrome and show you what it looks like, Brian. Yep. Here we go. So I'm switching over. Hold on.
I like this view a lot better. I mean, this actually works really, really nicely. Not having you on here at all. That's just, if that's what this camera's supposed to do, that was fantastic. No.
Did that work pretty good? You like that?
Yeah, you know what? I thought the show just worked so much cleaner for those 5 or 6 seconds with you gone. Yeah.
Well, So it's a little problematic, as you can probably see. Yeah, there's some bugs here.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's connected. I heard it connect, right? So it's just not able to pull it up easily.
Yeah, Chrome is not wanting me to do it. This is a problem I'm seeing with this continuity camera. That's very kind of touch and go when it works or doesn't work. So now I'm just trying to figure out how to get my own camera back on. Okay, there we are. All right, but that's the concept. Again, wasn't a great demo, I realize, but again, that's reality. That's what's happening. Yeah. I'm doing exactly what the instructions are, and it's just not following it. So be mindful that not every app you try to use this with as a webcam may work with it. Obviously, FaceTime, it's going to work pretty good for you if you use it. If you have it as a FaceTime camera, or using FaceTime, you need a webcam for it. Zoom, I haven't tried it with, but I would hope Zoom would work pretty well with it. This service we're using to do this podcast obviously did not want to interact with it the right way. So, but I will tell you, the camera looks good. I mean, it's a good looking camera when you can use your iPhone camera as your webcam.
Yeah.
It looks very nice.
I don't think people realize how nice the camera is on there when you're comparing it to a computer camera, or although the new cameras with our MacBook Pros are pretty good, but they're not as good as the phone. So
yeah. So that is iOS Ventura. Again, the features I just listed out for you. If any of those are ones you say, yes, I need that. That is something that would help my life. I want it. I would enjoy that feature. Then you're good to upgrade. I mean, go ahead and upgrade. It's not going to hurt, but it will give you some of those features you're looking for. However, if none of those features really were standouts for you or things that you needed, and you're not itching to upgrade, there's no other real valid reason I don't feel like to upgrade right now. Obviously, if you'd like to stay in the latest and greatest version of your operating system, that's great. But again, I just have not found anything really that's made me say, yes, this was a worthwhile upgrade at this point. Continuity camera is nice when it works. I do like the spotlight enhancements that were put in. Don't think Stage Manager is something I'm going to use. I do like the iCloud shared photo library. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, but I mean, I think overall, if you like the features that were listed, great. If not, there's no rush on upgrading. Yeah. It's not going to make a difference in a major change in your life. So.
Well, I'll go ahead and just give you my thoughts that I will upgrade as soon as I'm giving freedom to do it, just because I like to see new things. The one thing that I'm interested in, it's kind of simple, is the being able to keep messages new. Yeah. Because I'm trying to train myself to do it or remember to do it on my phone, but yet I spend so much time on my computer also with those messages. It seems like that's going to be problematic if I'm not able to do it there and, am able to do it on my phone and having to remember, oh, actually, I need to go make it new on my phone is the only place I can do it. So that I'm looking forward to. The rest of it I'll play with and, we'll see how it goes. But
okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Fair enough. I mean, I think that's the right approach to take. Let's see. I tell you what, Brian, I'm going to talk about the NAS on another day, another episode, because there's one more kind of functionality I want to test out with it before I give a full kind of overview of everything I'm doing with it. So we'll table that in the essence of time. I'll talk about the home NAS network attached storage device a little bit more in detail next time we get together.
Sounds good.
Show. Okay.
Cool. Yep.
Why don't we go ahead and let's clap off the show here with the bits from each of us if we can, if we got time for that. I think we can squeeze that out here in a little bit. But again, the bits is where Brian and I both give a suggestion or recommendation of something that we are either using now or just started using or have that we feel like is worth recommending to others as a piece of technology. So,
Nope. No, hey, sorry.
Where'd you go?
Wrong button.
I like that view as well. That worked out pretty good for me too. You want to go first?
Yep. Let me go first. So mine, I'm gonna cheat somewhat.
Okay.
In that I'm actually not giving a new suggestion, but I'm bringing up a suggestion I've already given because I remember you very clearly saying, I want to see if you're still using this in a few weeks. All right. So this is
right.
This is the time right? TYME, that
Yeah.
was the time manager or time logger application that I've been using. And just a reminder to people, this is an application that allows you to kind of keep track of time that you're spending on different projects. So you can go up to the menu bar and say start time on this project, and then stop time a little bit later, so that it can keep track of all the time you're spending on individual projects if you want to invoice those to someone later. So this is just a quick example of what I have here. I'll kind of show you that I've got different tabs for each of the maybe categories of things I might be doing. And underneath each one of them, you can have different projects. Underneath the projects, you can have actual steps of the project or stages. So, for example, the Synaptic is somewhere where I have 2 different projects going on. One of them a grant. Underneath that, there's lots of steps, things that I could be doing in that project: consulting, preparation, research, so that I can tag those while I'm working. So the way it works, super easy. I'm still using it, and I'll tell you why that I've remained using it in just a second. But the way I use it is, if I start with a project, I'll go up and say, go ahead and, hey, I'm working on this right now. And then later do a quick pause, which I can do from my watch or I can do from my phone. I can say just the stop button, and therefore it's logged that I was doing that particular task at that particular time. And it seems to work pretty well. The reason I think you probably wondered if I would still use it would be, am I going to remember to start time each time I'm doing something? Am I actually going to remember to go up and say, start this? I'll tell you, I probably remember about 50% of the time. But here's the beauty of this, right? Is that once I remember that I'm doing this and I should be logging it, it's very easy to go up and say, instead of start time, you just say add time entry. Yeah, time entry. I started it an hour ago, and here you go, enter, right? And then it carries on. The other thing that I've learned to do, which is really, really helpful, is every day at 8 o'clock, I get a reminder on my screen that says, hey, by the way, do you want to start a time? Like, I see you haven't started time yet. Do you want to start? So it knows my workday has started, and it just gives me a reminder. So I may start to put that reminder in more often. Hey, do that midday as well. Do that in the afternoon. So at least I look and say, oh yeah, I should log my time, or I need to start a time or something like that. So that's super helpful. It has been great, and I can go and start, stop. Here's the other thing that's super slick, Alan, is that so I was working the other day and went to lunch. Didn't think to stop my time. I'd started it on my computer, closed my computer up, went to lunch, came back, opened it up, and it says right away, I'll pick up a message that says, hey, you haven't had any action on this computer since this time. So it knows exactly when I stopped working on the computer. And it gives me options. It says, do you want to continue keeping track of time? Do you want to stop the time at that time and start something new? Or do you just want to stop the time from before? So if I say, oh gosh, I completely forgot to stop it. Yes, stop at that time. And it remembers this is the last time you had an entry, or last time you had action on your computer, and it stops it. Most of the time for lunch, I'll come back and say, oh, stop it then, but start a new one. So it remembers the first one ended when I left for lunch, and then another one is already starting. And it reminds me to do that, which is super nice. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm
still using it.
I'm really wrestling with when to jump into a time tracking app, because I need it.
Yeah.
I need that information. I need to be diligent with that. But it's the whole question I asked you when you brought this up as a bit. Like you said, is this something you're going to remember to use and remember to log appropriately? Or are you going to find yourself spending more time going back and fixing entries that you should have timed it or whatever?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I will say I do not do that.
Yeah.
I will say I do not overspend time doing that. I don't feel like I'm spending a ton of time doing that. I actually feel like what I would have done to go and remind myself to stop a time is probably the same thing. I'm going to go up and say, hey, I actually forgot to do this last 2 hours. So let me just manually add the 2 hours. So I don't feel like I'm too far off. What I really love is that the next day, if I say, man, you know what? I didn't log yesterday, but it's super easy to go back and just manually enter that's when it happened. Just a reminder, you can also add location things. So I have it so when I go to a particular company, the moment I get there, it automatically starts a timer for that company's business. So there could be certain things, Alan, where if you knew when you go to a location to work on something tech-wise, it's automatically going to do it in the background, which is super helpful.
That becomes interesting then. That could be something.
Yeah. So even if it's just one project you're using this for, that I'll remember to time you there. So
there is one project where I do have to physically go to a place and I track the time I'm there.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then that's helpful. That may be what
useful.
pushed me over the edge right there to get it. So okay. Good deal.
All right. So that's just kind of a re-suggestion. Yeah.
TYME-APP time app. Brian is still recommending, even after using for a while now. So good.
Yep.
Okay. Well, mine is super technical and geeky, but it helped me out. So in the great laptop debacle of 2022, which I'm still in the midst of, I also and I've talked about putting in a new network storage system in my house and all. Part of the reason was I was using a drive that was my Time Machine drive for many, many years. And I've been really concerned about how slow that drive is getting. It seems like even just trying to pull anything from it or copy anything from it just takes really, really long time. And I know I've had it for a super long time already. So I knew it was probably just getting close to the end of life. And then sure enough, here in just the last few days, it died. It just stopped working for me. But I needed to pull some backup stuff off of that drive, the actual drive on the inside of this thing. So I have an enclosure, the Western Digital MyBook Live. Mm-hmm. I had to go in and rip that thing open to get the actual hard drive out. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Because I still need to get stuff off of this. This has got the full backup of my laptop that died. And I still need to pull some files from that backup to put onto my one I'm using now. So when the enclosure that this thing was in, the actual case that this thing came in was no longer working, but I could hear the drive was working on the inside. So I felt like the drive's working. It's just not connecting to my computer through that case anymore. I had to get this out. So now here comes my problem. How do I get this mounted on my computer? Okay. So let's say you've got an old hard drive from an old computer, or you've got an old laptop drive, which are much smaller, like a 2.5 inch hard drive. Any of these drives you've got, either because you want to pull something off of it that you know is on there that you need or want, or maybe it's a drive that you want to clean off and use for something else now. Because, if anybody in your household has got a PC, like a big desktop PC for gaming or whatever, maybe they want to have a hard drive in there to build off of, or who knows, these old HDDs, these old hard disk drives still have some value in use. But how do you get them connected? How do you actually connect them to your computer? So that's when I got a device, and I'm going to pull up the Amazon listing for it. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so this is the device I got. I'm showing it right here in the window as well. It is the Innotek USB 3.0 to IDE SATA external hard drive reader. So what this basically is, as you can see from the photo, it is a device you plug up. It's a USB connection back to your computer. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to connect drives, just like you see here in that photo, into one of the ports on the side of this thing, whichever compatibility you need for it. And it mounts it on your computer as an external drive. Okay.
So it's using that SATA connection or whatever that pen.
So for example, this one's using a SATA connection. Yep. So here's the connection port for it. I'll pop it in, and now it is connected to it. If I plug this cable USB into my laptop, I now see this as a drive. I can go and copy things off of it. I can go and reformat it and clean it off and make it a brand new drive for something else, whatever I want to do. If I have a laptop that has a hard drive on it that I want to get stuff off of or clean off, I can hook it up to another side of this little box. The one port that works for that works the same way. Granted, after I'm done using it this week, I may not use it again for who knows how long, but it is 19 or 20 bucks to have. There's enough times where I need to get access to one of these older drives or need access to something, or even just an emergency to know that I can do it. That to me that was a kind of a lifesaver and a really cheap, easy way to do it. So again, if you have a device around that's got one of these older hard disk drives, these big clunky hard drives, or you've got a laptop that's got a drive on it and you're wanting to kind of do something with it. Let's say something does die on a computer, but you can get the drive out of it. This is the way you can now kind of connect it and still use it as a drive. I mean, honestly, Brian, I even thought about it, trying to think creatively about it, because I can get some of these raw hard drives a little more cost effective than maybe some newer SSD drives and some other things. If I have like a stock of these, I'm like, I just want to back up some things, or I need some like video files that I don't need to access very often, I may just connect it up, copy stuff to it, and then put this up on a shelf and know that I can always come back and reload it if I need to. So maybe like archive things that you don't need to access very often, but you want to kind of keep around. This is another way you could do it if you don't want to go buy an actual enclosed external hard drive, and you've got some of these laying around that you can use. Anyway,
so let me just clarify. So you just found another way to back something up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And this is getting kind of
always looking for ways
ridiculous.
to back up.
Yeah. And okay, serious question. There was no way to put that into your NAS.
I could.
You just have to buy like an extension converter or like a box for it to go into.
Well, my NAS has got 2 slots, and I've already got them both filled.
Oh, that's right.
With 8 terabyte drives. This is a 3 terabyte drive, so it wouldn't really made more sense to put one in. And also just know that when you put a drive into your NAS, which I'll talk about again in the next episode, when you put a drive in, it does have to reformat that drive completely to make it work within that.
Okay, system. You can't just put it in to read it. Okay.
No.
All right.
And this had a full Time Machine backup on it that I needed to get access to and pull up. So I did not want to erase it. So that's why I needed access to it. So found this device. I got it on Amazon, got it like 2 days later, hooked it up, and right away it worked. It was great. Very easy. Wow. Very happy with it. So that is the Inatech external hard drive reader. They make some devices like this that are like some ones I almost got were like a base that you actually drop this hard drive into, and the base is actually connected to your computer. I almost went with those because I just thought that'd be kind of nice and convenient. You just kind of have it and you drop the drive into it. But then I started thinking about it. A, those were a little more expensive. B, this one has that flexibility of having 3 different ways it can connect to different drives in case I ever had another drive of a different type. To know that it would work, it was just a lot more convenient for me. So that's what I went with.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yep. I like
anyway,
it.
I just recommend that if anybody ever has that situation where they need access to any of these older hard drives and you don't want to spend money to send it off somewhere to get it recovered, or you don't want to have to try to find somebody's old PC to install it in just to get it connected to, this is a super cheap way to do it. So,
yeah. Awesome.
All right. Yep. Good deal, man. Whew.
Cool.
Of course, we went long as always. So,
wow. I think what we need to do in the future, Ellen, is we'll get one of those kitchen timers.
Yep.
Set it with a big bell on it, and once the timer goes, we've got to switch topics, no matter what.
Change topics.
You know?
Yeah.
15 minutes. Oh, shoot, we didn't cover enough, but let's go. Next one.
Well, I take responsibility for this, Mike, because
bag.
I know I did kind of drive the whole episode and kind of did all the
You're damn right you're taking responsibility.
So I do take responsibility for going long. I had too much information to share, it sounds like.
Well, that's always the case. You've got too much wealth, too much knowledge to share, so we understand.
Well,
right,
we're going to wrap this up then. We talked about Twitter alternatives and social media. We talked about the new macOS, and we gave some recommendations, a hard drive external reader and the Time app on Brian's side, revisiting and still using. Very happy to hear. Brian, if anybody's got some questions on any of those topics or they want to chime in with something of their own, how can they get a hold of us?
Send us an email at info@themesh.tv. That's info@themesh.tv, and let us know what topics you'd like us to get into, or if you have some suggestions of, having multiple topics versus one topic versus, to help us with format of the show as well. We're here and we're excited to talk about whatever, right? As you said, this is the only time we talk. So what we talk about really doesn't matter so much. So you tell us.
You can help dictate how my brother and I interact with one another.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, as long as you don't say we need to talk about growing up together and, the memories we have, right? Let's talk about tech stuff, but
we'll talk about
send us an email.
Let's talk about good things.
Yeah. So you can also go to www.brothers-in-tech.com and check out previous episodes. So
cool.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks everybody for watching, listening. Again, we hope to hear from you if you got any questions or any ways that we can help talk through anything with home, family, personal technology. We're here to help. So we'll look forward to talking to y'all soon. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.